If you think about great investors, people often refer to Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger. But recently, there has been a super investor on the rise. He is an early investor in Facebook, PayPal, Palantir and many other startups. This is a documentary of Peter Thiel. Having $1,700 in a tax-advantaged retirement account, Peter Thiel was all set to take on the business world. 2 decades later, he would invest $1,700 to make it worth $5 billion. This is the story of how Peter Thiel was able to multiply his money by 2.9 million times, which is a percentage gain of over 294 million%. Born in 1967 in Frankfurt, Germany, Peter moved to the United States with his family when he was just 1 year old. He began playing chess at the age of 6, and by the age of 12, he had mastered the game. And if that wasn't enough, he was already rated 7th in the United States for under 13. In addition to being a chess star, he was also a math prodigy. Before graduating from San Mateo High School in 1985, he achieved the highest score in a statewide math competition. He was also named as a valedictorian of his class, while still in high school. He had a large sticker on his chessboard kit that said 3 words, "Born to win." If anyone was born to win, it was definitely Peter Thiel.
Starting a company, if you're the founder, entrepreneur starting a company, you always want to aim for monopoly, and you want to always avoid competition. And so, hence, competition is for losers.
He earned a bachelor's degree in philosophy from Stanford University in 1989. And in 1992, he received his Juris Doctorate from Stanford. And after obtaining his JD, Thiel landed a job as a judicial clerk with Judge James Larry Edmondson, a famous judge who was once appointed by Ronald Reagan. Shortly after, he left his job to work as a transactional lawyer at Sullivan and Cromwell. This was exceptional for his age, as he was already near the top of the field. However, Peter's time as a lawyer didn't hold that long. Peter described the law firm as a place where on the outside everyone are trying to get in. However, on the inside, everyone is trying to get out. He actually thought that law firms was similar to prison.
It was one of those places where from the outside everybody was trying to get in, on the inside everybody was trying to get out. When I left after 7 months and 3 days, one of the people down the hall from me told me it was reassuring to see me leave. He had no idea it was possible to escape from Alcatraz. And of course, all you had to do was go out the front door. But it was psychologically hard for people to do this because their identity was so wrapped up in the competitions they had won, the people they had beaten along the way, that they could not even imagine doing anything different.
Because working in law is a psychological nightmare. Later, he became a futures trader at a Credit Suisse subsidiary after quitting the legal industry. A derivatives trader is someone who trades contracts to speculate on the future pricing of assets. For example, some derivatives traders speculate on the price of oil by buying and selling oil futures contracts. This time, although Peter felt better about it, he still thought that he was out of place. Peter left his job in New York in 1996 to start his own hedge fund in Menlo Park, California. At the end of his fundraising round, he has successfully raised $1 million from his friends and family. His new hedge fund was named Thiel Capital. Shortly after, his life would take a sudden turn. After starting his hedge fund, Peter meets a man named Max Levchin. He was a programmer from the University of Illinois. Max had a vision to create a cryptography internet business named FieldLink. Peter thought the idea had massive potential and wanted to become a co-founder. Eventually, after starting the business, Thiel started bringing in several people and made some minor changes. Thiel and other co-founders renamed FieldLink as Confinity. In March of 2000, Confinity merged with X.com, another financial service company that was founded by Elon Musk. The merger of Confinity and X.com marks the start of PayPal, which would have some turbulent changes ahead. Elon Musk, who is the president of the company, and Bill Harris, the CEO, both of them disagreed with each other about the future of financial services. As a result, Bill left the company in May of 2000, and Elon took over as CEO. Despite this, things still did not go well. In October, Musk began focusing on PayPal, and, on the same month, Elon Musk was suddenly overthrown as the CEO and was replaced by none other than Peter Thiel as the CEO. Peter took PayPal public in 2002, and the company was later acquired by eBay for $1.5 billion. Peter's equity allowed him to bring home $55 million in the transaction, immediately making him a tech millionaire, in retrospect. Because Peter's tax information was recently leaked, we know that the majority of his PayPal gains were in his Roth IRA. The Roth IRA is a retirement brokerage account, where users pay taxes on their capital before depositing, and never have to pay taxes on the gains if they use their Roth IRA. Peter paid a tenth of a penny for 1.7 million shares of PayPal in taxes. eBay's acquisition was at roughly $22 per share, so this gave him a 22,000x return. According to my calculations, Peter's Roth IRA was worth approximately $37 million after selling out of PayPal. While impressive, this is nothing compared to the current value of Peter's Roth IRA of $5 billion. After selling PayPal, Peter launched another hedge fund named Clarium Capital. With Clarium, he analyzed macroeconomic trends and made large bets on them. Initially, the performance of the fund was impressive. In 2002, his fund returned 29.4%. The following year, in 2003, Peter correctly predicted that the dollar would crash, allowing him to return 65.6% on his hedge fund that year. These returns continue to fluctuate with massive volatility. Roughly 1 year after starting Clarium, Peter co-founded another startup with a friend he met while at Stanford Law School. The startup was named Palantir Technologies. Initially, the innovative business model was so unconventional that nobody in Silicon Valley wanted to invest in Palantir. While maintaining operations at Palantir and Clarium, Peter was still somehow managing to do even more work. In August of 2004, Peter became the first investor in Facebook. After, he initiated a $500,000 angel investment in Facebook for 10.2% of the company. He eventually sold 80% of his angel investment for $400 million at a price of $20 per share. This solidified his expertise in being a successful startup investor. With that, Peter founded the Founders Fund, a venture capital fund based in San Francisco, in 2005. In the next 6 years, the Founders Fund grew after successful startup investments made by Thiel, one of which he has a significant investment in. The company he co-founded, Palantir. During this time, his hedge fund Clarium Capital thrived. In 2004, Clarium Capital returned 56%, and the fund grew 57.1% in 2005 before falling 7.8% the following year. 2007 was a fantastic year for Thiel, with a return of 40.3%. In 2011, Peter missed out on a massive rebound in the stock market, which led major investors to pull out their money, forcing Peter to close the fund. Then, he began to focus exclusively on managing his own money. Overall, from 2002 to 2010, Peter achieved an average return of 15.3% per year. That may not appear to be much, but it was an extremely impressive return. During that same period of time, the S&P 500 averaged a return of just 3.32% per year. That means Peter outperformed the S&P 500 by about 12% per year on average, which is absolutely incredible. The interesting thing about Peter is that he was not only successful in the hedge fund industry, but also in venture capital. From 2010 to the present day, Peter managed to accelerate his capital substantially. According to a report, investors who invested $1 in the Founders Fund in 2011 would have $4.60 at the beginning of 2019. That is a 4.6-fold increase in 8 years, and this does not include 2020 or 2021. Where we've seen a massive appreciation in financial assets all across the globe. Not only that, the returns I told you guys earlier are after fees, so Peter himself likely compounded at much higher returns. The Founders Fund is easily one of, if not the best venture capital firm of all time. When it comes to Palantir, Peter was instrumental in the company's growth to become one of the largest AI-based companies in the world. Palantir's revenue has grown from just $2 million in 2008 to over $1 billion in 2020. And this might just be the start of more to come. The CEO of Palantir, Alex Karp, stated that he thinks Palantir could become the largest software company in the world. As if his schedule couldn't get more packed. Peter Thiel was also an author. Overall, at the age of 53, Peter is just getting started on his path to becoming one of the world's greatest investors. He has already dominated venture capital entrepreneurship, hedge funds and more. Bloomberg estimates Peter's net worth at $7.24 billion, but he is undoubtedly wealthy. More than that, Peter enjoys having an undercover lifestyle. And for all we know, his real net worth might be $20 or even $30 billion. Let me know whether you think Peter is the world's greatest investor, down below. He clearly compounded a large return of 294 million%. And many are saying that it will never be topped. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Business Wisdom.